Our message is very simple. If you come illegally into the United States, you're going to jail, or you're going back to where you came from, or perhaps even further than that. You know what that means?
Take a look at her net favorable ratings nationwide. You know, back in October of 2024, she was at -5 points. Not exactly great, but
I told you that we are so overwhelmed with daily moves by the president that there is no way people can accuse him of doing nothing. He is setting up the chessboard, making amazing moves, and we will see how it all ties together, leading to the future arrests. It's amazing how it's all pieced together. We're starting to catch on. I think we're going to show you a lot of that. Bio Kleinstein did a great job exposing a lot of this. He said in a 2-day span, President Trump declared Antifa a terrorist organization, waged war on Big Pharma, called out bioweapon development, called out global human trafficking. The timeline is accelerating. It's happening. Justice is the only way forward. President Trump told everyone after reviewing the details of the unserious and ridiculous demands being made by the minority radical left Democrats in return for their votes to keep our thriving country open, I have decided that no meeting with their congressional leaders could possibly be productive. They're threatening to shut down the government of the United States unless they can have over $1 trillion, not billion, not million, trillion, in new spending to continue free health care for illegal aliens, a monumental cost. Force taxpayers, that's you and me, to fund transgender surgery for minors. Have dead people on the Medicaid rolls. Allow illegal alien criminals to steal billions of dollars in American taxpayer benefits. Try to force our country to again open our borders to criminals and to the world. Allow men to play in women's sports. And essentially create transgender operations for everybody. These radical left views and policies is what allowed me to win the presidential election, including all 7 swing states and the popular vote in a historic landslide. There are consequences to losing elections, but based on their letter to me, the Democrats haven't figured that out yet. So they are trying to eliminate the popular $50 billion Rural and Vulnerable Hospital Fund, which was passed with only Republican votes and proudly signed into law by me. The Democrats in Congress seem to have totally lost their way. They obviously have no idea what it means to put America first or to make America great again. All congressional Democrats want to do is enact radical left policies that nobody voted for. High taxes, open borders, no consequences for violent criminals, men and women's sports, taxpayer-funded transgender surgery, and much more. Few people voted for what they represent, which would lead to the destruction of America. Instead, people voted for common sense, and that's what the Republicans and your president, Donald J. Trump, stand for. I look forward to meeting with them. If they get serious about the future of our nation, we must keep the government open and legislate like true patriots rather than hold American citizens hostage. Knowing that they want our now thriving country closed, I'll be happy to meet with them if they agree to the principles of this letter. They must do their job. Otherwise, it will be just another long and brutal slog through their radicalized quicksand. To the leaders of the Democrat Party, the ball is in your court. I look forward to meeting with you when you become realistic about the things that our country stands for. Do the right thing. It's about time we had a leader like this. Andrew Colvett, by the way, just a quick update. After Sunday's memorial for Charlie, TPUSA received a massive surge of inquiries to start new chapters. Pre-Sunday, they had around 60,000 inquiries. Post-Sunday, after the memorial, they're at 120,000 inquiries. Even accounting for attrition and duplicates, we are on the cusp of having a TPUSA or Club America chapter in every high school and college campus in America. That's huge. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for putting this together, and we hope and pray that many of these children across America will wake up and be able to defend not only their faith, their country, but be able to stand up boldly against these evil ones and finally be on the offense. Seems like we're always on the defense. This came out from Ryan Walters out of Oklahoma.
I'm excited to announce today that every Oklahoma high school will have a Turning Point USA chapter. We have seen the outpouring from parents, teachers, and students that want to be engaged in the meaningful work going on at Turning Point. They want their young people to be engaged in a process that understands free speech, open engagement, dialogue about American greatness, a dialogue around American values. We're so excited to partner with Turning Point USA with this initiative. For far too long, we have seen radical leftists with the teachers union dominate classrooms and push woke indoctrination on our kids. They fight parents' rights, they push parents out of the classroom, and they lie to our kids about American history. What we're going to continue to do is make sure that our kids understand American greatness, engage in civic dialogue, and have that open discussion. We will continue to do all that we can to make sure Oklahoma students have the best education possible.
Way to go, Oklahoma. Absolutely amazing. That's what we've been looking for our children. It is absolutely brilliant. We look forward to more updates from other states in the future. You know, we share all the time our things that we're dealing with, physical aches and more. The pain that we see just in our mind of watching our country with the insurrection playing out. Yet some of us are feeling really good physically because we went to ltpetclub247.com and got ourselves some mushroom support, the immune support, pets support, natural goodness, and more. Carrie got Enforce Clarity, and she said she's 62, has arthritis in the hands and knees, and a celiac disease. Took Enforce Clarity and Enforce every day. She said she's halfway through both and has no more swelling nor pain in the hands or knees, and she says she's jumping for joy. It's amazing. Janet got the Mojos. All 4 of our dogs love their Mojo treats. They behave and patiently await their treat. I also top a few pieces into their food bowls. An excellent treat indeed. I really like how my hand doesn't get all greasy from handing them their treat. Karen, the cookies for the dogs, so rich and tasty, sweet, salty, enriched with immune-boosting mushrooms. I don't even bake my own anymore. And so ltpetclub247.com. It's an amazing website. You get all types of products there to choose from. We hope that you guys check them out. Your life will change dramatically. We've had several interviews with them. Many of you have jumped on board. ltpetclub247.com. Check them out in the description box below. You definitely will thank me for it later. Absolutely amazing. We love them over there. You guys remember that man accused of attempting to assassinate Donald Trump on the golf course? Brian Root, the 59-year-old. Remember that guy? Well, he has been found guilty on all charges. Root, who represented himself at his federal trial in Fort Pierce, Florida, was facing 5 charges, including attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate, assaulting a federal officer, possessing a firearm and ammunition as a felon, and possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. Jurors deliberated for under 3 hours. before delivering the verdict.
It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. It just went on. Thank you. I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier. Thank you very much. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. I thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action.
Only thing that solves war is action. Speaking of war, just a quick pause on this video clip here. People in Dearborn, Michigan chant death to America.
Not a great look. The mayor condemned it. The White House condemned it. But what about Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib?
How about the United Nations? That's where President Trump gave a speech yesterday. Not only did he get into the war issues and how he solves the wars and more, and they basically did not help at all, he's still talking about the children.
The previous administration also lost nearly 300,000 children. Think of that. They lost more than 300,000 children, little children, who were trafficked into the United States on the Biden watch, many of whom have been raped, exploited, and abused, and sold. Sold. Nobody talks about that. The fake news doesn't write about it. With many others, young children who are missing or dead. And we found a lot of these children, and we're sending them back, and we've been sending them back to their parents. They said, nobody knows who they are. They said, where do you come from? And they'll give us a country, and we'll find out, and we'll figure it out, and we'll bring them back to their homes. And the mother and father rush to the door, and there are tears in their eyes. They can't believe that they're seeing their son or daughter, their little son or daughter again. We've done almost 30,000 of them so far. Any system that results in the mass trafficking of children is inherently evil. Yet that is exactly what the globalist migration agenda has done, and it's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about, telling them to their face, we know what you're up to. We know how you work together to traffic children. We know what you talk about in these halls here at the United Nations, you sick people. You notice the United Nations, they don't come together to solve the problem of all the children being trafficked around the world. The UN doesn't solve any problems.
Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them.
You're creating the invasions. You're financing the invasions. To their face. Listen to this clip.
Of dangerous weapons today, I'm also calling on every nation to join us in ending the development of biological weapons once and for all. And biological is terrible, and nuclear is even beyond, and we include nuclear in that. We want to have a cessation of the development of nuclear weapons. We know, and I get to view it all the time. Sir, would you like to see? And I look at weapons that are so powerful that we just can't ever use them. If we ever use them, the world literally might come to an end. There would be no United Nations to be talking about. There would be no nothing.
Bioclandestine said, I don't think people realize the earth-shattering magnitude of what just happened. Trump stood in front of the UN General Assembly and told them all to their faces that they must stop making biological weapons. This means Trump knows COVID was a man-made bioweapon, which means he knows who is responsible for making COVID, which means someone is responsible for crimes against humanity. What has been one of the most talked about subjects at the UN since February 2022? Well, what has that been? The U.S. bioweapon development at USAID-funded biolabs around the world, most notably Ukraine. Russia, they've been talking about the need for investigations into the U.S. bioweapon development for years now at the UN, and have been ignored and vetoed by the U.S. every single time. The specifically named Obama, Clinton, Biden, and Soros of being the main ideologues of this plot. Trump's DNI Gabbard has been all over this since the jump, and she told us back in May that she was working with RFK Jr., Bhattacharya, and Ratcliffe to look into the origins of COVID, and she specifically mentioned the biolabs in Ukraine multiple times. Trump knows the truth about COVID, and it sounds like he's getting closer to telling the public. And I remember him, folks, by the way, in several of his speeches at the rallies, he would tell folks, you know, they did COVID to steal the election. Told everybody outright. He'd say it real quick. And you're like, did you catch that? Anybody blink an eye? Did you realize what he's telling us? Yeah. The world powers came together because they want to continue their wars. They knew that he was going to expose them for their mass immigration and trafficking of children around the world. And they had to put a stop to it. So what did they do? They unleashed a psyop. Released something called COVID and made everybody believe that all these people were millions and millions are dying. They're getting this COVID thing. They're going to die. Put on your mask. Do this, do that. And then, oh, by the way, since we can't go outdoors very often and we have to wear a mask, it's going to be easier for us to do mail-in ballots. Thus, they printed the ballots. In China, shipped them in. And what did they do? Farmed out those ballots around the United States. President Trump said, we caught him. You know why? Because he had ballots that were actually coded a certain way, in such a way that you would know the real ones from the fake ones. using, I believe, some type of, what do they call, blockchain technology. If I'm wrong, you guys could tell me, but some type of technology was put in those things, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I tell you what, they knew the ones that were the true ones and the ones that were fake. And they got those ballots out, they ripped ours apart, brought those ballots in, and then they would count them 3 or 4 times after they already mailed in all the fake ballots to make sure that there was no way President Trump walked into the office. So here's Victoria Nuland, just a reminder of the biolabs in Ukraine.
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
I'm sure you're aware that...
Oh, yeah. From 2022, March. Then Undersecretary of State Victoria Nuland admits that Ukraine does indeed have biological research facilities with stuff they don't want the Russians to get their hands on. This came after the mainstream media and fact checkers spent the 2 weeks prior claiming that there were no biolabs in Ukraine whatsoever and maliciously smearing and censoring those who talked about it. A few months later, the DoD went on to admit that these labs actually not only exist, but they're funded by the U.S. government. Then Fauci and Hunter gave themselves preemptive pardons beginning January 1st, 2014, which is the same time the Obama regime offshored gain-of-function research, most notable of which was Hunter's USAID-funded biolab company, Meta Biota, searching for bat coronaviruses in Ukraine via USAID Project Predict. Then today at the UN, yesterday actually, Trump brings up the dangers of bioweapon development and says it has to stop. Trump knows the deep state were using USAID funding and NGOs to essentially fund private bioweapon development outside the scope of U.S. oversight. Justice is our only option. This can never happen again. Folks, we're at amweknow.com. If you go there, you can actually find our AUK merch button. You see that with the merch, and you click on that, and you'll be able to send in pictures of, actually order our merch. And so we've had a few folks write in. One, as I met a kid in the store the other day that recognized my AUK shirt and asked me about it, my And We Know shirt. We must have talked about 20 minutes about Christ, life, and his revival that's going on throughout the world right now. It's very refreshing to know that the youth is still with us. They're not lost just yet. Thank you for that picture at Land Between the Lakes. And also, greetings, Altaian vacation. We stopped at a welcome center in Virginia. Should I say my husband's, or should I say my husband's USMC flag got the attention of another couple as he was also a Marine. We were chatting as I was grabbing my AUK jacket, and my husband put his AUK hat on. They got excited as they are also faithful watchers. We told them that we were stopping to get a photo with the Virginia sign. She grabbed her jacket, we got a photo together, and here you go. Thank you guys so much for sending these in. Here's more great pictures of Patriots wearing their gear.
We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed. Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody is ever, and nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it. And I have to say, I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible, terrible mayor, and it's been so changed, so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law, but you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. This cannot be sustained. What makes the world so beautiful is that each country is unique. But to stay this way, every sovereign nation must have the right to control their own borders. You have the right to control your borders, as we do now, and to limit the sheer numbers of migrants entering their countries and paid for by the people of that nation that were there and that built that particular nation at the time. They put their blood, sweat, tears, money into that country, and now they're being ruined. Proud nations must be allowed to protect their communities and prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before, with different customs, religions, with different everything. Where migrants have violated laws, lodged false asylum claims, or claimed refugee status for illegitimate reasons, they should, in many cases, be immediately sent home. And while we will always have a big heart for places and people that are struggling and truly compassionate, answers will be given. We have to solve the problem, and we have to solve it in their countries, not create new problems in our countries. And we are very helpful to a lot of countries that are just not able to send their people anymore. They used to send them to us in caravans of 25, 30,000 people each. These massive caravans of people pouring into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. But not anymore. According to the Council of Europe, in 2024, almost 50% of inmates in German prisons were foreign nationals or migrants. In Austria, the number was 53% of the people in prisons were from places that weren't from where they are now. In Greece, the number was 54%, and in Switzerland, beautiful Switzerland, 72% of the people in prisons are from outside of Switzerland. When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did, they repaid kindness with crime, it's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration. Once we started detaining and deporting everyone who crossed the border and removing illegal aliens from the United States, they simply stopped coming. They're not coming anymore. We're getting a lot of credit, but they're not coming anymore.
Your countries are going to hell. He's talking to people who probably can't move a muscle, can't do anything about it, because they're all puppets, controlled. They're probably in danger that if they make any decisions to allow or to send these illegals back to their country, their families will be taken out. Imagine sitting there realizing they know they're wrong. They know and they've heard from their friends that their country's fallen apart. It breaks your heart. 50% immigrant inmates in Germany. 72% immigrant inmates in Switzerland. They come into the country. We've shown you over and over again the evidence, and you've seen it on social media. They're destroying the countries. They're infiltrating instead of invading. They're causing serious harm. You imagine the number of parents that have lost their children because of these illegals. The number of girls, teenage girls, who have been assaulted by these illegal immigrants. The number of times they scream and yell and saying, "We're going to take over your country." We're going to be the majority before you know it. And Sharia law will run this land. My hope is when President Trump brings up Sharia law is going to be activated soon in these countries like in the UK. My hope is he's paying attention to Texas and Michigan and these other places it's getting infiltrated by. They come in, they act all nice and kind, and then when they get to politics and they start taking over a majority, before you know it, Sharia law starts to be implemented. I hope he's watching. I don't have a hatred for these people, but I have concern they come to the country and they want to enact their own laws and not become American citizens or do or love the country that they're actually in. Designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization, we talked about this already, but I wanted to show you something. Antifa as a terrorist threat. Antifa is a militarist, anarchist enterprise that explicitly calls for the overthrow of the United States government, law enforcement authorities, and our system of law. It uses illegal means to organize and execute a campaign of violence and terrorism nationwide to accomplish these goals. This is on the executive order that President Trump signed. This campaign involves coordinated efforts to obstruct enforcement of federal laws through armed standoffs with law enforcement, organized riots, violent assaults on immigration and customs enforcement, and other law enforcement officers. And I had a video clip. Believe this is out, it could be out of Portland. I don't have the exact location, but look what happened. Yep, there they are, Antifa. They walked out there. They grabbed them. They're under arrest. They're done. My hope is we'll see this play out throughout the land, and it'll be absolutely phenomenal. Do you see it? Trump is neutralizing the deep state's playbook. First, he cut off their money supply via USAID foreign aid. Now he's shutting down their brown shirts, Antifa. Trump is neutralizing their ability to utilize their playbook with USAID funding shut down and Antifa now a domestic terrorist organization. Soros and the Dems are losing their regime change, color revolution capabilities. Trump knows their playbook. He knows what they have planned for when he arrests deep state actors. So he's cutting off their slush funds, shutting down their sleeper cells, MS-13, Tren de Aragua, and paramilitary groups, Antifa, before Trump makes his big move. I believe Trump wanting to deploy the National Guard to Democrat cities nationwide has a lot to do with Antifa, says BioClandestine, and other potential sleeper cells, terrorist groups who will be activated if Trump arrests high-profile individuals. The deep state have a standing army of left-wing paramilitary extremists ready to riot and utilize violence against Americans, and Trump knows he must neutralize this threat before he makes arrests. The plan is coming together. You know, we had a great interview the other day for these Wave watches. The power of frequency. I've learned so much about it. And I wanted to let you know, it's in the description box below, the Wave watch. Improve your health with sound frequencies. And I couldn't believe it at first, but it's actually been working. Here's a soundbite from Linda Bamber Olson, Wave watch inventor.
Because we're not doing that. We went more the direction of pills. And so that's why people have a little harder time realizing that their body can absorb frequencies through their skin and their bones. They don't have to hear it. So that was so important for me to be able to do that because I'm a deaf person. I'm completely deaf in one ear, and I've had trouble with hearing my whole life. And so I wanted a tool that I could use, you know, that I didn't have to hear.
Oh, wow. Wow. I know a lot. Yeah, so many folks. You know, I met her on the cruise, and I tell you what, we had several folks that had the watch on, and we were testing them out. My back started feeling much better. My best friend actually put it on, had a hard time bowling. His left knee was in a lot of pain. And next thing you know, he was bowling. He bowled 4 games. He said, I could go 10 more. He couldn't even believe it. He normally wraps everything up. He wraps his hand up and more. And he's like, what's going on? This thing is absolutely amazing. They have them in special colors like rose gold, also graphite. They improve your sleep, reduce stress, fight pain. They boost energy. And they are beautiful watches also. So when you use them, you can change to so many different frequencies for your brain health, for your pain, for sleep, and so much more. I encourage you to go check it out, folks, in the description box below. Go check it out. You will be absolutely amazed and reclaim your peace. Folks, I don't know if you saw this, but YouTube came up. The censorship reversal. Thanks to persistent scrutiny from House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, Google is making sweeping changes at YouTube. The platform now admits that pressure from the Biden administration to censor content was unacceptable and wrong. So they're blaming it on Biden, even when that speech didn't violate its own policies. This acknowledgement comes after years of restrictive policies that stifled debate on COVID and elections. So they had documents released. They said that senior Biden administration officials, including White House officials, conducted repeated and sustained outreach to Alphabet and Press, the company, regarding certain user-generated content related to the COVID-19 pandemic that did not violate its policies. So basically they're saying, yeah, we're not going to censor free speech, but only if it relates to, the things that have already passed, like the election that we stole, that's gone, and the COVID thing, since we don't talk about that much anymore. But, if you bring up Q, they won't let you. They won't let you. Because I tried to go back on YouTube again, and right after this announcement, and they basically said, no, you are not going to get your channel back. So what we did is we're working on and created a YouTube channel, and we know official, and we'll get the link out someday soon, and we're just testing it now to see if they're going to allow it to stay up, and we're editing some of the stuff out, like some of the Q post stuff, so that the AI folks won't catch us and take it down, because people say, well, why would you go back to them? Why would you upload there? I'm letting you know, there's a lot of eyes that will never go to Rumble in their entire life, that will be on their phone. They'll click on YouTube, and next thing you know, they click through and they say, oh, what's this all about? And they watch the big intros. They start hearing us talk, and they hear a prayer at the end, and it reaches younger folks. That a lot of younger folks are on YouTube, or people that will never go to Rumble. So that's why I want to get it back over there. Not permanent location, just another place for people to have eyes. Speaking of having eyes on things, Kamala's trying to make a run back, showing up on The View and other places, but things aren't looking too good for her when CNN does this.
Talking about here. Well, let's take a look at her net favorable ratings nationwide. Back in October of 2024, she was at -5 points. Not exactly great, but pretty close to the 0 mark, right? Pretty close to even. But now, down under she goes. She's at -13 points. That's an 8-point drop since the general election among the overall electorate. She is not well liked at this particular point. The American people, they don't want this. They don't want her. And get this, she's 37 points underwater with independents. If you can't win independents, you can't win the election. And
oh, did anybody call Harry Enten and said, hey, bro, you need to calm it down a little bit. You're making us look bad. You're making the Democrats look bad. Or the good guys in control of the Communist News Network, and they're letting this movie play out. Who knows? What do you guys think? Let's go back to President Trump at the UN.
2000, climate change would cause a global catastrophe. He said that it will be irreversible, as any nuclear holocaust would be.
He's starting to point out, you guys remember the people showing up in the year 2000 telling us climate change is going to ruin our country. It's going to swamp the entire earth. We're not going to be around anymore. President Trump calls him out. I love it. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to go there, but he did.
This is what they said at the United Nations. What happened? Here we are. Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. It used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world. But then it started getting cooler. So now they could just call it climate change because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion.
That's right.
Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people
That's right.
that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail.
That's right.
And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything.
I love it. He's talking to them like they're in kindergarten. All right, little kids. Yeah, I remember I watched a show. I think it was 5 or 6 before you head off to school, and this person came up on TV. I think it was like PBS, and she would hold like this circle with a bubble in it, and you would zoom in on the bubble, and she'd say, "Little kids, look in the bubble now," or something like that. That's what it reminds me of. Okay, little children. Now you're wasting your time, and these immigrants are coming in. They're gonna send your country to hell. And oh, by the way, your country's going to get even worse if you keep this green scam going. So you're going to steal everybody's money. You're going to infiltrate them with a bunch of illegals, and your country's done. Pretty tough.
Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years. I ended 7 wars. And in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed.
And you guys, he continues to tell them, you guys didn't do anything. You didn't lift a finger to help. So, of course, after that meeting, he has his talks about all of the stuff happening in Palestine.
So this is going to be a very important meeting. It's going to be a meeting with great leaders from a very important part of our planet, the Middle East. And we want to end the war in Gaza. We're going to end it. We're going to end it. Maybe we can end it right now. But they're respected all over the world. They're respected by me in the Oval Office, I can tell you that. They're respected by the United States, and we're here to see if we can get the hostages back and get the war over and get back to life in the Middle East, which is a beautiful life, but it's much more beautiful without wars, right? So I really greatly respect the fact that you're here, and we're going to get it done.
Going to get it done. Freedom Force Battalion. All these leaders met with President Trump to express their support of the Palestinian people. It looks like they know that President Trump supports them too. She said, we must be close. Interesting, because in that UN speech, he said, you guys want this Palestine state, but you're not releasing the hostages. Huge Feast of Trumpets is what Freedom Force Battalion's calling out. September 23rd, during the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, President Trump hosting a multilateral meeting with leaders from Muslim-majority countries, including Qatar, Turkey, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and Jordan. It was scheduled following Trump's address to the UN General Assembly. Some of those clips I already played for you. The meeting's part of a broader diplomatic push on the sidelines of the UNGA, where Trump is also holding bilaterals with leaders from Ukraine, Argentina, and the European Union. So he's addressing the Gaza conflict. The core focus of the meeting wants to talk about Israel's ongoing war in Gaza, now approaching its 2nd year, and outlining a post-war governance and reconstruction plan for the region. Ceasefire and withdrawal. Trump's expected to present U.S. principles for an Israeli military withdrawal from Gaza, potentially replacing Israeli forces with regional stabilization or peacekeeping troops. Reconstruction funding. Arab states are being asked to commit financial support for rebuilding Gaza's infrastructure. which has been devastated by the conflict, resulting in over 65,000 Palestinian deaths, mostly civilians, and widespread famine and displacement. You know, I was just reading scripture today, guys. Do you realize that when we talk about Samson actually went into Gaza? That's where he found, I believe, Delilah. She was the one that tricked him, had his hair cut off and eyes gouged out, and more. Anyway, governance role. The plan may involve a limited role for the Palestinian Authority in post-war administration, though Israel has historically rejected this. It draws from Arab League proposals and ideas floated by figures like former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. This agenda stems from heightened regional tensions, including a recent Israeli strike on Hamas leaders in Doha, Qatar, which killed 5 officials and prompted Gulf leaders to convene an emergency summit calling on the U.S. to restrain Israel. Why these specific countries? Qatar and UAE, Gulf states with financial leverage for reconstruction. Qatar hosts Hamas leaders in U.S. airbase Al Udeid. Saudi Arabia and Egypt, major Arab powers. Turkey and Jordan. Turkey's president has condemned Israel's banditry, and Jordan, with its large Palestinian population, is a frontline state for refugee flows. Indonesia and Pakistan, the world's largest Muslim majority nations, adding demographic and symbolic representation. My hope is that President Trump also told them, hey guys, what are you doing? I want to work with all the nations and get these folks that illegally came into these other countries and send them back to you. You need to fix this problem. Anyway, the meeting occurs amid a diplomatic shift to the UNGA, where dozens of leaders, including from the UK, France, and others, endorsed Palestinian statehood on September 22nd, a move opposed by the U.S. and Israel. Trump, emphasizing an American-first approach, aims to leverage personal ties with these leaders to broker progress on Gaza, contrasting with stalled multilateral efforts. Critics, including some Muslim activists, argue the leaders should precondition talks on an immediate ceasefire. While the exact outcomes remain unclear, the summit underscores Trump's strategy of deal-making through direct summits rather than UN-led processes, so potentially paving the way for follow-up talks. Trump's hosting a reception for over 100 world leaders that evening before returning to Washington, so big moves happening. General David Allen put this out. The Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force put it on X, a 1 minute and 4 second video on Operation Midnight Hammer showing the B-2s flying their mission to Iran with a timestamp of 11:26 a.m. Eastern Time. An important data point, says Ultra Magadine Erickson. He is one of the 162 people followed by Dan Scavino and also followed by Pete Hegseth. They're following him, folks. Dan Scavino and Pete Hegseth following General David Allen on X. So it is very possible he is the one of the 200 generals backing President Trump. That 1 minute, 4 second video, Q104, now's the time to pray, we're operational, God bless the United States of America, follows with the clean house is very important. Do you guys know more riot fencing is going up in D.C. and a nuclear exercise going off in the Atlantic tonight? That was last night. It seems something is happening. Keep your eye on the news, see what's going on. Speaking of the news, I don't know if you guys know, but after we talked about the Tylenol deal and RFK Jr. went out there, President Trump and others, to warn folks, if you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. You should really refrain from doing it. These leftist freaks went out that are pregnant, these ladies, and said, oh, I'm going to laugh and share a video, and I'm going to take Tylenol right in front of everyone. One of them's Michelle Vu, MD. She does fertility medicine in New York. 28 weeks pregnant. You know what? I'm going to take some Tylenol with acetaminophen so my baby won't have autism, and she laughs. These people need to lose their medical licenses. Again, this woman is in fertility medicine. There's a 100% chance she will still be advising all her patients to take Tylenol. She's not the only one. I'm going to bring this in for you to look at. Liberalism is a true mental disorder. If you're looking at your screen, all these ladies bragging about being pregnant and taking Tylenol. Their hatred is causing damage to their children, and they don't care. Interesting also that this video was released by Dan Scavino with Marine One landing. Remember that one? Nessun Dorma, None Shall Sleep. One of our favorites, one of my greatest intros that I've ever worked on. Well, that timestamp on Dan's post, he posted at 9:58 p.m., 21:58 military time. Okay, it's about that drop, 21:58, is about Lisa Page and Peter Strzok out of all the times to drop it. And guess what we learned last night? That Strzok lost his First Amendment case. And the song in Dan's video is Nessun Dorma. None Shall Sleep. There it is right on your screen. And we're told that we've lost our mind. Another one connects perfectly for all to see. Speaking of perfect connections, you guys know we've been having great interviews with Dr. Kirk Elliott. You don't want to miss the one that we had Sunday. Volatility is about to surge. Silver could hit $50 soon. And everyone is catching on. And we talked about this triangle pattern when dealing with prices of silver and gold.
You look at all of this volatility squeeze. So where does Colombo think we're going next? On this move in gold and silver should take gold to $4,400 an ounce and silver to over $100.
Oh,
is what
wow.
he says.
Oh,
I mean, we're not talking years down the road. He said in this move, right? So this is what's really exciting to me is there's a time and a place for everything.
yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
And everything that's going on in LT, I had a really bad week. I'm not going to lie.
And so he gets into the details, and it's pretty phenomenal. You can reach out to him at amweknow.com/gold and get to jump on board while this surfboard continues to catch the giant wave. It is absolutely brilliant.
Charlie's killer lives with a guy who's transgender. The Annunciation shooter was transgender. The Covenant shooter was transgender. Should the FBI be investigating transgender extremism?
We're looking at that, and it seems like, is that just a, what's the reason for it? Yeah, there seems to be something, but we're looking at it very strongly. Something seems to be going on, but you can't make that statement yet. We're looking at it very closely.
Can't make that statement yet, but something seems to be going on with the transgender extremism. Guns don't kill people. Confuse kids who have been brainwashed by leftist maniacs to believe they can be a dog or cat or one of 86 genders who have been genetically mutilated and pumped with hormones and antidepressants with guns. Kill people. The Atlantic put out this headline: left-wing terrorism is on the rise. For the first time in more than 30 years, attacks by the far left outnumber those that by the far right. Oh. I don't think that's a good sub-headline. I don't think that's true at all. But anyway, undeniable. It's bad when even the crazies at the Atlantic admit that left-wing violence is on the rise. Their research shows more terror attacks from left-wing ideologues than from the right in recent years. The data set includes details like weapons, targets, fatalities, and perpetrator ideology, citing Donald Trump's election as a factor. This comes after the arrest of Tyler Robinson. The Atlantic's report also mentions Antifa's involvement in other violent acts, like shooting a police officer in Texas and firebombing pro-life centers despite attempts to downplay the extent of left-wing violence. More left-wing craziness. You guys know the Kimmel show was put back up. President Trump said he couldn't believe that ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. Something happened between then and now because this audience is gone and his talent was never there. Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, and who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage? He's yet another arm of the DNC, and to the best of my knowledge, that would be a major illegal campaign contribution. I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. So Nexstar actually said they won't air Kimmel's show upon return Tuesday after leading an effort to have ABC take it off. So they didn't want to air him at all. I will say that he put out some clip, and folks have been sharing on X, that he basically said he was, through tears, touched by Erica Kirk and forgiving the person who killed her husband, Charlie Kirk. Other leftists have been waking up, liberals, after the death of Charlie Kirk.
I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I have spent hours out of my life the past few days watching Charlie Kirk debates. And if that pisses you off, then you especially should stay. Because when I tell you I've been absolutely consumed, not by the debates themselves or why I didn't agree with him, but it's our party that has left me feeling unsettled. And if you're a Democrat watching this, I really hope you take this not as an attack, but like from a friend who really cares. First, let's talk about the concept of mob mentality, which by definition just means being influenced by a larger group and losing your own personal judgment in the process. And the example I want to use is that clip that was everywhere, that went viral, everybody was quoting it, where Charlie said, "I don't like the word empathy." We've probably all seen the short and the long version at this point, where he goes on to clarify that he prefers the word sympathy. Agree with him or disagree with him, doesn't matter to me. The point is, the real conversation never happened because the clip was cut in half. Why? To reinforce the idea that the right is full of these monsters who reject human feelings, right? That wasn't an accident. That omission was deliberate and strategic so that you would form an opinion about a person without using your own informed personal judgment. Does that bother you? If somebody's truly evil, shouldn't the truth just be enough? Shouldn't we be trusted to come to the right conclusion all on our own? Maybe you would have come to the same conclusion, but maybe you wouldn't have. And then there's the hypocrisy, okay? If you honestly asked me how many times in the past year I've seen the left dox and unemploy a person over hateful speech, I wouldn't be able to. And I get it. Actions have consequences. I'm not arguing that. But the same principles apply to us. If we sound the fascism alarm, we cannot celebrate death over speech. If we advocate for gun control, we cannot celebrate gun violence. If we call for diversifying our worldview, we can't then close off conversations that are uncomfortable, but that could possibly, maybe, lead to some kind of understanding. If we call the right a cult, we cannot cancel influencers who show empathy and sympathy to the wrong family. Think about it. One of the signs of a cult is pressuring members to cut off family members and friends who are outside of the group.
Unbelievable that it took Charlie Kirk to wake her up. She seems pretty smart. Unbelievable. But that's what it takes, huh? The Cubs rookie, Matt Shaw, says he doesn't regret skipping his game to attend Charlie Kirk's memorial.
All the veteran players that I've talked to, and really the whole team, having their support was really important to me. And then, I mean, Charlie, he was someone that I met at the apartments in Arizona where I lived, and then someone who was one of the biggest Cubs fans I ever met. And he texted me after every game, great win for the Cubbies, and he was super, super supportive of us, and obviously someone who's really faithful. So we connected on that front as well. But yeah, I mean, his wife Erica had texted me asking me if I would come to the funeral, and I felt as though it was something that was really important for me to do.
Are you concerned about the backlash, because there is a lot of politics involved in this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm not concerned at all. No, my connection with Charlie was through our faith. That's something that drives me every day. That's the reason why I'm able to do what I do every day, and that's something I'm extremely thankful for. I know without my faith and without the many blessings I've been given in my life that I wouldn't be here, able to talk to you guys, able to help this team eventually go and win championships. So that's something I feel really, really blessed about. So, whatever backlash comes is okay. I feel strong about my faith in that what was meant to be happening.
Man. How about that?
All the veterans.
Such poise. Friends with Charlie Kirk and Erica, and he said, you know what? Forget baseball. I'm going to go take care of this with my friend. Paramedic news. This is not a gentle stirring. It's the convulsive awakening of a civilization that was on the verge of suicide. For 50 years, the West has been in a self-induced coma, a decadent fever dream of post-national, post-rational, and post-moral fantasies. We were force-fed a diet of self-loathing and told to call it progress. But the fever is breaking and the American people are rising from their slumber not a minute too soon from the barbarians. For the barbarians are not at the gates. They've been running our institutions. This awakening is not merely political, it is profoundly moral. It is the rediscovery of the atavistic, foundational truths that built our world. The four cardinal virtues that the modern left has spent a century trying to erase from our souls. First, we're rediscovering prudence, the practical wisdom to see the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. This is the antidote to the left's utopian idealism, the Gnostic heresy that promises a heaven on earth and delivers only a hell of inflation, crime, and chaos. Second, we're rediscovering justice, the real justice of equal application of the law and personal accountability. This is the cure for their perverse social justice, a grievance-based caste system that punishes the innocent for the crimes of the past and excuses the guilty for their politics of the present. Third, we're rediscovering fortitude, the raw, unapologetic courage to face adversity and to defend what is ours. This is the antithesis of the left's pathetic culture of safetyism, of trigger warnings, safe spaces, and the cowardly mobbing of anyone who speaks a dissenting truth. Finally, we are rediscovering temperance, the self-control that is the bedrock of civilized man. This is a direct assault on the left's glorification of decadence, its celebration of hedonism, and its relentless war on every form of self-restraint from the family to the nation. This moral restoration is the engine of our political restoration. The movement that put a patriot back in the White House is not just about policies. It is the political manifestation of a people who have chosen to be virtuous again. They have chosen strength over weakness, reality over fantasy, and order over chaos. The slumber is over, but the fight against the demons of the long night has only just begun.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, once again, we come before you in thanks and in awe of you and how you continue to work in our lives. We thank you for your word that is sure and true. We ask you to help us to continue to read your word, stay close to you, convict us of our sins. Remind us every second of every day to stay in prayer over those that are on the front lines, that are in these battles against evil ones who want to destroy us, destroy our country, destroy every country on this earth. Thank you for leaders that are able to stand up and face these tyrants and tell them to their face, we've had enough of your evil that you're letting into our country. We've had enough of you stealing our money with your made-up lies about climate control. We've had enough of your lies to our people. We've had enough of the infiltration that you've done in our nation, the invasion of our rights. We've had enough of you censoring us. We've had enough of you destroying our bodies. Help us to continue to stand strong against this enemy. Help us to talk to others who are having a hard time with everything. May we be a comfort because of your Holy Spirit that helps us. May we help others. Give us the strength to do so. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray, our Father. Amen and amen. Folks, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your time. Amazing how each day it seems like something new happens that has just filled up our minds to how do we keep up with all of it. It's phenomenal, the amount of things that are happening every day that are putting us on offense instead of defense. Had a great time doing Bible study with the Justice Cometh yesterday. We had almost 5,000 people on X on his show, and I hope that you guys would go check that out. We talked about resisting temptation. Also, thank you for all those that are considering coming on the cruise. Like I mentioned yesterday, we've got the extra large rooms now have been opened for those that were looking for those particular rooms. We hope that you guys go to amweknow.com and sign up before everything shuts down, okay? For now, this is LT Semper Fi with We Know, signing out.
If you come illegally into the United States, you're going to jail, or you're going back to where you came from, or perhaps even further than that. You know what that means?
Take a look at her net favorable ratings nationwide. You know, back in October of 2024, she was at -5 points. Not exactly great, but